If you own a property in Ottawa, you might have to pay a lot more taxes on that property next year thanks to the city's new Vacant Unit Tax, or the VUT. Here's everything you need to know. So, question number one, what is the Vacant Unit Tax? Or as I like to say, VUT is the VUT. Get it? See what I did there? All right. The Vacant Unit Tax is a new supplemental property tax that the City of Ottawa has instituted starting in 2023, and that will apply to any home that is left vacant for more than 184 days in the year. So if your home in Ottawa is vacant for more than 184 days in 2023, in a calendar year, they don't have to be consecutive days, you will be subject to this new Vacant Unit Tax. Question number two, how much? So the Vacant Unit Tax is going to be assessed at 1% of your home's assessed value. So if you don't know what your assessed value is, you can look it up on your MPAC report. You can also send me a message. If you live in Ottawa, I'm usually able to pull that information for you. But to give you an example, if your home is assessed at $600,000 and it's left vacant for over 184 days next year, you're going to get an additional tax bill of $6,000, right? 1% of 600,000. Easy math. Question number three, how is the City of Ottawa going to define a vacant unit? And what the city says is that if you own a home in Ottawa, either yourself or a family member of yours or a tenant must occupy that home as a primary residence for essentially half the year or more, right? A minimum of 181 days is what the math works out to. Also, important fact, individuals are only permitted to have one primary residence. Meaning that if you have two properties in Ottawa, you can't get around the VUT by saying that you're living in one 182 days of the year and in the other 183 days. Same thing applies if you are renting a property in Ottawa to somebody who has a primary residence out of town. We have a lot of business people that like to rent places in Ottawa as crash pads when they come into town for work. Those are not their primary residences. And so if you have one of these rentals, you will likely have to pay the Vacant Unit Tax on that property. Question number four, hey Serge, City of Ottawa can't even manage to fill a pothole. How the heck are they going to know whether every single home in the city has been empty for 184 days or more every year? The answer is, you're going to tell them. That's right. So the City of Ottawa is going to mandate, starting this year, that every single homeowner go online and fill out what's known as a property occupancy declaration. And in this property occupancy declaration, you will be responsible for letting the city know whether or not the property that you own is vacant for over 184 days. And if it is, you're going to be subject to the Vacant Unit Tax. Question number five, what happens if I don't fill out my property occupancy declaration? The answer is you pay the tax. That's right. The City of Ottawa is going to be using a practice known as negative billing for the Vacant Unit Tax. Believe it or not, negative billing is actually illegal in a lot of parts of the world, but not here in Ottawa. So what negative billing means in this case is that it's up to each individual homeowner to tell the city that their property will or will not be vacant for the year. Otherwise, the city is going to assume that it's vacant. They're going to charge you the tax. Oh, and another thing, the city has also said that they're going to charge interest at the rate of 1.25% per month for any unpaid Vacant Unit Tax. Question number six, what is the deadline to submit my property occupancy declaration? This year, the deadline is March 16th. So you have until March 16th to let the City of Ottawa know whether or not your property will be vacant. Again, if you don't let them know by March 16th, they're going to assume that it is, and they're going to charge you the tax. Question number seven, what happens if I get billed for Vacant Unit Tax on a property that was actually occupied as a primary residence for more than the minimum? So if you forget to submit your property occupancy declaration, for example, or if your plans just change for property you thought was going to be vacant for more than half the year ends up being occupied as a primary residence, the city has said that there will be a way for individuals to appeal Vacant Unit Tax that they've been billed in error. However, they haven't provided a whole lot of information about how that process will work. Trust me when I tell you that dealing with the city is typically difficult, even in the best of times. I can't imagine this process is going to be anything other than very frustrating and tiresome to go through. So trust me when I tell you, just get your property occupancy declaration done before the deadline. Question number 8. So is the city really just going to take owners at their word? Is this tax only going to be levied based on some sort of honor system? Yes and no. The city has said that property occupancy declarations will be audited throughout the year. They haven't provided a whole lot of information on how those property occupancy declarations will be audited, who they're going to choose, etc. They've also said that if you are found to have lied on your property occupancy declaration, you could be subject to additional fines and penalties. Again, they are fairly vague on this. They haven't really specified what types of fines or what types of penalties you would be subject to if you were found to have lied or erroneously filled out your property occupancy declaration. Now, reading between the lines, I think it's safe to say that if you own multiple properties in Ottawa, you likely have a higher likelihood of being audited. The other thing I would urge you to consider is that your water bills come through the City of Ottawa. So the City of Ottawa has access to your water usage. So if you tell them that you're living in the property, that someone's living in the property year round, and they see that there's no water that goes to that home for 6, 7, 8, 9 months out of the year, that's probably going to be a red flag. I know that if I worked for the city, that's one of the things that I would be looking at. So keep those things in mind when you're filling out your declarations. Question number 9. Are there any exceptions to the vacant unit tax? The answer is yes. There are a few notable exceptions, properties that can be vacant for over 184 days out of the year and not be charged the vacant unit tax. So some of these exceptions include properties that are vacant as a result of a court order, properties that are vacant as the result of a death, right? So if the owner of the property has died. Now, the City of Ottawa does specify that the property is only exempt from the vacant unit tax during the year in which the owner of that property died. So if the owner dies in 2023, you get off the hook for 2023, but in 2024, you got to pay the tax. Another exception exists if the owner of the property is placed in a long-term care facility, right? They're not able to physically live in the property. Another one exists for renos, but only if you are doing major renos on a property which make the property unlivable for over 184 days out of the year. The city will require you to provide permits and proof of these renos and of the fact that the property was unlivable. And one more notable exception exists for cottages. Any rural property that the city deems to be a cottage only has to be occupied for a total of 100 days out of the year in order to be exempt from the vacant unit tax. Question number 10, last one. Sounds like I should submit my property occupancy declaration, but how do I do that? So in order to submit your property occupancy declaration, first of all, you do it online. In order to submit it, you're gonna need 2 pieces of information. 1, you're going to need your assessment roll number, and 2, you're going to need your access code. Now, both of those pieces of information can be found on your most recent property tax bill. The City of Ottawa also sent a VUT notice to every single homeowner in the city that had those same 2 pieces of information. So you should have gotten that in the mail. Once you have those pieces of information, you're going to go to the City of Ottawa's VUT website, right? That can be found at www.ottawa.ca/VUT. Okay, www.ottawa.ca/VUT. From there, at the top of the page, you're going to click on the Submit Declaration button. You're going to enter your assessment roll number, you're going to enter your access code, and then you're going to answer the questions that they ask you. It is a fairly easy and quick process. Now, if you have a My Service Ottawa account, you can also submit your property occupancy declaration directly through there. I find it a little bit more convenient because it'll pre-populate your assessment roll number and your access code, so you don't have to go digging for them. Same thing, just access your My Service Ottawa account, go to the property tax section, click on the VUT button, and off you go. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions about the VUT, I know this is new and there's a lot of information floating out there. It can be hard to wrap your head around all of it. I'm more than happy to help. Feel free to reach out to me, send me a message, text me, call me, email me, whatever works for you. And I'm more than happy to walk you through, help you out with any questions you might have.